start with the music.
Shabbat shalom, Adrian. I know, and it's just guesswork when the masks. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, V'melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bo'echem l'shalom, malachei ha'shalom, malachei elyon. V'melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, V'melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, malachei ha'shalom, malachei elyon, v'melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Try it with me. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, V'melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedechem l'shalom, malachei ha'shalom, malachei elyon, v'melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, V'melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom. What a beautiful way to come into our sanctuary. What a beautiful thing to be together in this way. It's really meaningful. I was at a conference this week in Connecticut on the border of Massachusetts in the Berkshires in a beautiful place called Isabella Freedman. I don't work for them, but please go. They have goats, and it's a Jewish camp for adults.
I was there once. I had a fabulous time.
Yeah, it is wonderful. And the food, the best. And while we were there, they had in their sanctuary, they had a couple of signs that you could look at, and one of them was from Abraham Joshua Heschel, and it said something to the effect of, beauty opens up a part of you that allows us to see God. And when we hear beautiful music, especially something new, it feels like something opens up inside of us. I think that's a really important role that Cantor plays in the music that she presents for us. I wanted to take a moment to reflect before I know Bruce is waiting very patiently over there, before we welcome Bruce up here. Take time to think about unexpected moments of beauty in this week. I will share just looking at the river over there sparkle. I thought, there is nothing we could make as humans that could be as beautiful as that. So with that in mind, I'd like to share a poem that I wrote while sitting down, supposed to be doing something else. The best way to write poetry. This is called Where to Look. And it's really about that experience of how many layers of beauty that you can have, especially on a beautiful week like this one. Where to look? At the mist traveling on the dark shadows of the river, at the lonely white rocks surrounded by shriveled oak leaves, at the reflection of the tall pines in the water, at the trees themselves smiling overhead, at the campfire burning its last embers, at you huddled sipping coffee with eyes closed, at myself with open eyes, overwhelmed at all the beauty seen and unseen, impossible to quantify in this big, beautiful world we are lucky enough to call home. And I say this because Jacob has one of those moments. It's the story of the ladder this week. And he says, God was here. I didn't know it. We have so many moments we can really relate to Jacob. So let's take a nice deep breath of Shabbat air, breathing in all of that wonderful sunshine this week, whether you were in Connecticut or in Buffalo. And we can breathe out all of the angst and all the other stuff that also creeps in. So ready, 1, 2, 3. We should come into Shabbat with a pure heart. Now I'm ready for you, Bruce, to give the introduction welcome to Shir Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Nice to have everyone together. Admit it. There was a moment today when you looked out your window, you saw the sunshine and the blue sky, and you thought, park and pray tonight? But then you stepped outside and you felt the breeze, and you said, all right, I can see why I didn't even text the cantor or the rabbi to say, can we think of it? No, I knew. The day may come before spring, you never know, but in the meantime, it's just nice to be together in here. This past week, the weather was gorgeous. On Tuesday, I was outside in shirt sleeves and thinking, what a great day for a Shavuos. It was not. We will be having that this coming week. It will probably be about 40 degrees colder. But the fact is, the important thing is that we can be together on a Friday night and share this space with each other. And for whatever reason that we are here tonight, whether it's for a yortzeit or just for a Friday night service, we're here together as a family, and that's what matters. So Shabbat Shalom, welcome. We have a lot of stuff coming up in the next couple weeks. So when I come back for the announcements, stay tuned. There's a lot coming up. Shabbat Shalom.
Now, Bruce, I love your determination. I want to see how far you could take that joke. All right, we are here, and thanks, Paul, as well. Of course, Cantor joining me up here on the Bima, and we are ready for candle lighting on page 120. I would like to invite Herm, one of our veterans in our community. We are so proud of your service. If you could come over here and just do the honor of lighting our candles, that would be wonderful. We are so grateful for your service, Herm. And he has a beautiful haircut he was showing me. I didn't know that, but veterans get a lot of perks on Veterans Day. And one of them is haircuts, apparently. It's for Elise. Is that a phone? My son plays that in our house all the time. So I can't tell if I'm like at home suddenly. He doesn't get past like the first, 15 notes. It's like pi. I don't know how far. For Elise gets a lot more complicated after that. And it's so cute. He uses his fingers like this. He doesn't. It's not big enough to actually. Oh, Herm, thank you. All right, we're going to bring in the Shabbat lights. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Herm. Cantor, why don't we do that for everyone just because of the microphone situation? And we'll do it. If you're at home, feel free to light your own candles and do it with us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadiknem shel Shabbat.
Blessed are the candles that light our way into Shabbat. I invite you to focus your attention on that Kiddush cup. I'm going to levitate it. No, not really, but instead of going down there, we'll focus our attention. Kiddush is on page 123. 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lemaseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh zecher tziyat mitzrayim kivanu v'achartam liotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai v'kadesh haShabbat.
Amen. Thank you, God, for allowing us to create sacred space and time, and that we should have holiness in our life like today. We're going to now welcome Shabbat in on page 138 with L'Chadodi. We sing the first verse and the final verse. On the last verse, we rise and we face all the angels or the brides of Shabbat as they come in. We bow symbolically to them as they enter, and then we wave to each other, welcome each other, because we see God in one another. Page 138.
L'Chadodi likrak alai alalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Chadodi likrak alai alalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamo v'sachor dibor echad ish המיוחד, אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך תודי לקרא קלה, יללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. לך תודי לקרא קלה, יללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני ים סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך תודי לקרא קלה, יללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. לך תודי לקרא קלה, יללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה.
We continue, we remain standing for the Baruch Hu, our call to prayer on page 146.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach leolam. HaMevorach, HaMevorach leolam haed.
We remain standing. Let's turn to page 149 at the bottom, and we'll read together in the English, 149. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the borders of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. And we think about that evening light that's coming in as we turn to the Shema, page 152, 153.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam.
You may be seated. The V'ahavta, page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מיותיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Let's turn on page 157, and we'll read responsively at the bottom. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heaven declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. I realized in reading this prayer, I wanted one of those movie people to be saying this. In a world torn by violence and pain. Doesn't it sound? It sounds like that.
It's always this one person. It's this one man that gets all the jobs.
Well, it's in different industries. I learned in the nature industry. There's one fellow. I think he's in the 80s and 90s, and once he's gone, I don't know what they'll do. He's done all the. Page 158. It would be cool to bring them up to the bima one of these days. Mi chamocha, with the crossing of the sea.
Ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neda b'kodesh, norati hilot ha'sefele. Naratihilot osefele Marehut kara uanecha Ukeyayam ifni Moshe Seilianu ve'ameru Seilianu ve'ameru Adonai Hilo Le'olam Adonai Eloh Le'olam Vahed. Ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la.
Baruch atah Adonai Gaal Yisrael. Blessed are you, God, who redeems us even against our own expectations. We're going to turn now to the Amidah, the standing prayer, also called the Tefillah, page 164, and invite you to rise, if so is your custom, and we'll continue with our own quiet prayers through the end. It goes through 180. Feel free just to pray in Hebrew, English, just the prayers of your heart, whatever's on your mind. You can also spread out if you'd like a little bit, and we'll resume services in just a couple minutes. This week, in addition to Veterans Day, we also commemorated Kristallnacht, and actually tomorrow is Ruth Lansing, I believe our oldest member at this point, I think. It's hard to keep track sometimes, but she has her 103rd birthday this week. Kristallnacht was 4 days before her birthday. We're going to be exploring her story in just a little bit, but in honor of that terrible time and sometimes the beauty that came out of it, like this prayer that we have over here in our broken star, Eli, Eli, a prayer written by Hannah Senish on the shores of the Kinneret before she went back to save her family and unfortunately perished. She's buried on Har Herzl in Jerusalem. They interred her and brought her and all the paratroopers that lost their lives back. And Cantor has chosen this beautiful one. It's on 653. And it's tradition, I think, in Israel to rise for this. This is one of the most sacred prayers in Israel, Eli, Eli. If you're able.
Eli, Eli, shelo yikamer leolam, hakol v'hayam, rishru shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tfilat hadam, hachol v'hayam, rishrush shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tfilat hadam. Oh God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart. Eli.
You may be seated. Cantor, I have a question for you. Sit down. We know about, or it's very popularized about who wrote the song. Is there anything about the melody that you know? I imagine it's not from Hannah Senish.
David Sahavi, and I believe it was like in the 1970s, in the 1960s or the 1970s.
We say
It
things
was-
are. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no.
Things are
I
from
think
Mount
it was
Sinai.
for one of those Hasidic song festivals, but I'll do more research about that. Is my mic loud enough tonight? Okay, good. I guess my speaking voice is lower. Then you can hear everything okay? Okay, good, because I can't hear myself back here. Okay, thanks.
It's so interesting because the melody and the words came together.
It's that shows the beauty of a composition when it's so integrated and so meshed that you can't separate the two. You You could take those words and you could apply it to another melody, but this is always going to be the standard that's going to haunt you. You know,
Yeah, I don't think
beautifully
that,
written.
I don't think there's a lot of people that have attempted to do it. No. Yeah.
Oh, no, there are.
There are.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't get too much traction, I don't think. We're going to turn our attention to our prayers of healing. And let me get our list. We thank Nancy for always preparing our wonderful list for us. And for those of you who do want to send in names, just write, email, or call Nancy McGorry, and she'll put them on the list. Today, our hearts, we're thinking about, it's 371 is the prayer. We're thinking about Gail Ackerhalt, Dr. Stan Bratton, Ebony Burse, Noah Camacho, Karen Cooper, Peggy DeLong, Arthur Dezelke, Sue Frank, Charles Garfinkel, Michael Getting, Irene Green, Reed Hefner, Nancy Hersbrunn, Paula Jones, Barbara Lamb, Gail Lewis, Gwen Lowinger, Diane Lynch, Larry Max, Jean McGarry, Helene Mesh, Ryan McGowan, Jennifer Milich, Ida Nevillers, Cantor Penny Myers, Cheryl Pratt, Cheryl Rossi, Mary Rumez, Mimi Shapiro, Don Sherman, Rosemary Varner, Fred Vinette, Meg Wagner, Anita Wiesel, Karen Weissman, Jeffrey Winnick, Mark Yablin, Elizabeth Jeezy Yeager, Christine Zalowiski, Hannah Ezra Ben Shuel. If you have their names, just raise your hand. We're going to take all those names into our hearts as we sing the Mishaber.
Roger Marconi.
And we'll also, those of you joining us as well, if you could write names into our Facebook or just think them in your heart and send them out or say them verbally wherever you are. 371. Complete healing of body and soul. We hope our prayers go where they're needed. Not necessarily we don't have control over healing someone, but maybe just to give them a little strength to face whatever they have. And those of you among us, whether here in person or online, watching now or later, we do send our prayers to you, and we hope that our service helps rejuvenate you, and our prayers do as well. All right, I have a question that I'm kind of curious about, and then I'm going to reveal a secret, and Cantor is going to love this secret. She's going to be like, I can't believe it, and why doesn't Shir Shalom have this? I'm telling you, you're gonna be amazed, I'm telling you. All right, raise your hand if you have at any moment watched a Central Synagogue in New York City service. You don't need to hide. See, Cantor raised her hand. How many of you have seen it go past your Facebook profile? It's a small group here. You might be amazed to learn. I do believe it's probably the biggest synagogue that's ever existed. And I don't know the numbers, but anecdotally, let's say in our community, there was 4 or 5 hands right now, but I surely there's at least 50 people that have watched in our community, and in Buffalo in general, probably several hundred, if not close to 1,000. I bet if you tally it up, their membership, the people that consider Central Synagogue their home base, is probably close to 30 to 40,000 at the minimum. They don't need a space for that. You can't fit in their sanctuary, but because of what they've done. And they have a little secret that I learned, and that's where Cantor's really going to be amazed, because I don't think they haven't really advertised this much, but it is a woman, and she is a nun. And I got to meet her this week. Her name is Janet Walton, and she is a 78-year-old nun. And you might say, what does a nun have to do with the biggest service that ever happened, that's ever been in any generation? This nun is a powerhouse. Even though she's 78, which is certainly not old, but 78, she looks like she's 21, and no joke. She has the energy of a 21-year-old. And she is in charge of their rituals. She has been doing this for 30 years. There was a time in the 1980s when Central Synagogue was barely holding on for life. Like so many of the large synagogues in big cities, even Manhattan, the members had stopped coming. And they had a rabbi, I think it's Peter Rubenstein, who had an idea. He was friends with Janet. They had worked together. And Janet was in charge at Union Theological Seminary of building lots of rituals for them. And he thought, why don't I bring Janet in to this space and create new rituals? And if you watch, like the High Holy Day service, if you've seen it, they bring dance and song. It's very unique. They actually, in Cantor, you're just gonna be blown away by this. They are currently working, and I think it's this week, they are gonna bring out, they try to redo one High Holiday service a year. They work on it for almost 2 years. And they are displaying their Mincha Yom Kippur service, like this week or next week, for a select group of members. They're testing it out for next year's High Holidays. It is the craziest thing. And it's one of the reasons why, not in addition, they have a wonderful rabbi, Angela Bookdell, right now, who's really a symbol of a new type of Judaism that's been emerging. But I'm a big fan of Central Synagogue, and now I understand they're not just something that came out of nowhere. They've been planning for this. So I was at a conference, as I said, with other rabbis. It was called Clergy Leadership Incubator Conference, our final conference. And Sid Schwartz, who ran the conference, brought Janet in, and we got to spend almost 3 days with her. It was incredible. She showed us some of her rituals over the years over at Union Theological Seminary, which you would imagine would be a very stuffy place. They would do some crazy thing. During the Iraq War, they had some veterans, and they decided they would have dead bodies, like people playing dead people, so that when they were in the service, everyone would have to walk over these people to have the service. They did an amazing thing. They had people that were dying of AIDS create a service where they were dressed in red and white and on stilts. They had homeless people take over the whole sanctuary and lead a service. They've done just incredible things to really show. What she says, and she's an expert in this, is that with ritual is about action, about doing something. She said, in ritual, there is no audience. Everyone is an actor. So, like a bar mitzvah, it's not just the child, or a b'nai mitzvah, brit mitzvah. It's not the child, it's everyone who is collectively part of it. So interesting. So I want to take kind of what I learned, and we're going to try a little ritual. It's not super complicated. It's really up to you. We're really testing this out, but I think it'll be a moving experience. We're going to look at the story of Ruth Lansing. Ruth and her daughter Diane have written up an amazing story, and she's just really a treasure. It's amazing what she went through, and she's been telling this story for a very long time. So we're going to take bits and pieces of it, and we're going to incorporate it into this week's Torah portion, and we're going to try to kind of live through this experience. And it's experience. You could do it in your seats, but some parts of the service will involve moving around the room. If you so choose, please join it. The thing I would ask is just be careful of people around. If we do need to keep the masks on and social distancing, but I think this will be a safe experience if you so choose. Okay, so it's going to have 4 different parts. Part 1, and these are, again, connected to the Torah portion and to Ruth's life. So the first part comes from the very first verse of the portion. Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheba. And Jacob left Beersheba. This word vayetze is not just leave. It means forced out. We were forced out of Egypt, and Jacob was forced out running for his life. It's not a simple word. I invite you now, if you are able, to put your feet on the ground, your hands on your seat, just to ground yourself. Close your eyes if you so choose. And I want you to think about your home. Think about what it's like inside of your home, the furniture, the way things are set. Think about your street that you're living on. What is that like? And extend even further, your neighborhood, your community. And we go back even to your country. Think about all the special places that you have in your life, the places you are so thankful to return to every day or whenever you go away. Now, as you're doing that, I'm going to share a little bit of Ruth's story each time. And this is from her accounting. November 9th and 10th, 1938, 83 years ago, just 4 days before my 20th birthday. At the time, I was staying with a family in Dusseldorf, Germany, an hour away from my parents. And this is from Lonely Planet. Dusseldorf impresses with boundary-pushing architecture, zinging nightlife, and an art scene to rival many higher-profile cities. It is a posh and modern city that seems all buttoned up in business at first glance. Banking, advertising, fashion, telecommunications are among the fields that have been made North Rhine-Westphalia's capital, one of Germany's wealthiest cities. So just take a moment to sit where Ruth was and where you are. Moment number 2. And for all these moments, if you're joining us virtually, I also invite you as well. Vayelech Harna. And Jacob went to Harna, towards Mesopotamia. And I invite you now to stand up at this point, if you so choose. And we're going to either, you can go into the social hall over there, because it's open and there's room. We're going to go on a little walking trip. And this is our exodus. As you go, think about what it would mean to leave all the things you were picturing in that first example, not knowing when or if you will be returning. I want you to feel the sadness of what you're leaving behind, the fear of not knowing where you're going. Feel it as I described to you Ruth's journey. So take time, go. Just remember social distancing, and Cantor, feel free to join. Paul, up to you. And I'm going to read her story at this point. The first indication of the impending horror was a howling mob which gathered in front of the house where I was staying. This was followed by the sound of breaking glass and the sickening crash of a door being kicked in. 4 or 5 men stomped into the room. They were not wearing Nazi uniforms. Most likely they had just been ordered to leave their uniforms at home so as to look like ordinary citizens, venting their wrath against the Jews for the crime in Paris. They proceeded to throw everything they could lay their hands on out the windows: furniture, crystal, china, silver, clothes, even a piano. Everything was hurled through the shattered windows, very much to the approval of the cheering mob on the streets below. No sooner had they left when 2 armed stormtroopers appeared and arrested my hope. The way they barked orders, they seemed like 2 men in a firing squad. I held my breath. I thought they were going to execute him right then and there. Instead, he was dragged off to a concentration camp, along with 30,000 other Jewish men and teenage boys that day, including my sister's husband and brother. I don't know what possessed me, but I went down to the street to see if anything could be salvaged, only to be driven back to the jeering mob, screaming obscenities at me. I remember a young girl threw a scarf at me and suggested I hang myself with it. Strangely enough, I saw no looting. After all, these were well-disciplined Germans, obeying orders. Either that, or by the time these things reached the street from the 2nd floor from which they'd been hurled, there was nothing left worth picking up. I found out later that they were not so reluctant about looting Jewish-owned stores, which was much more lucrative. My only thought now was to get home to my parents, who lived an hour away. I grabbed my passport, stuffed it inside my bra in case my purse was searched. I didn't know what they would do if they found out I was Jewish. I thought we would have to flee the country. Immediately, in my panic, having completely forgotten that there was no place to flee, virtually all countries had closed their borders. On my way to the railroad station, I saw flames and realized that the beautiful old synagogue had been set on fire. In the distance, I heard the jeering and laughing of the crowd as they found ever new victims. Very much to my relief, I found my parents unharmed. Nothing had been disturbed. Perhaps this was because not long ago we had been forced out of our large house and moved into a tiny apartment. However, our Jewish landlord's apartment had been ransacked, his valuable paintings slashed in ribbons. Now we're going to go to number 1, and you're standing in place. That's exactly where you need to be. Now we reach Genesis 28:11, and this is the moment where he finds a bit of safety on his in-between. He's not at Harna yet, but he is on the way, and he's about to witness angels going up and down a ladder. Now, I invite you at this point, as I said, to stand. This is your way station in between one home and the next. What does it feel like in this moment? Will you head back from where you came? Will you move on to somewhere new? Will you be accepted, loved? Feel the discomfort of being in between. And this is Ruth's story. After having lived through unspeakable horrors and degradations, most of the Jewish men who had been rounded out during Kristallnacht were eventually released from the concentration camps, except for those whose ashes were sent to their families. My sister and her husband were fortunate to leave for the U.S. Her brother tried to flee to Switzerland, where he had family, and he was never heard from again. A few months later, I was fortunate to escape to England, where I survived as a maid and later as a waitress. For my parents, it was too late. They were trapped in Germany and perished in Auschwitz, as did my older sister. She had foreseen the impending horror and fled to Holland shortly after Hitler came to power, where she thought she would be safe. And she was, until she ran into distant relatives in Amsterdam. He told her he was in charge of the transports taking Jews to the camps, and that he would make things easier for her if she came out of hiding and went with him to the train. She went and ended up being killed in Auschwitz. This relative survived, just like he and his family had survived the St. Louis boat. For those being turned away from U.S. shores, resulting in over half its passengers who returned to Europe dying in the hands of the Nazis. So now I invite you to return to your seats. And we're going to your new home now. As you come back to your seats, I want you to feel what it's like in Ruth's position, to be in a safe space, but not the place where you started. What is this like? Is this joyful? Is this bittersweet? Is this painful? What does it mean to be in the place where you're in a new home, but you can't go back to your old one? This is the situation in Genesis this week, in Genesis 28, 10 and 11, where it says, "And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban. Jacob kissed Rachel, lifting up his voice, and wept." And now in Ruth's story. After the war ended, while waiting for my U.S. quota number to come, I returned to Germany for 3 years. I was attached to the U.S. Army as the Allied civilian employee, working first in censorship and later as a translator at the Nuremberg trials. In the fall of 1948, my U.S. quota number finally came up, and I left Germany for good for the United States, where I have lived for the past 73 years. Having been born just 2 days after armistice was signed, ending World War I will turn 103 tomorrow on November 13. Grateful to have lived this long to tell my tale. May nothing like this ever happen again. So I'm going to open it up now. What we'll do is we'll put the microphone, I'm going to come down, just put it in the middle. And if you want to come up, think about it for a moment. And if you want to share what the experience was like. Did you experience what Ruth went for? What feelings came up, or how did this hit you? And it's only those that would like to come up. There's always the person who can go first. That's a special person. That's the one that opens it up for everyone else. Of course, you're so tall. I push the microphone out.
I can bend.
So just push it up. Just push.
Yeah.
Push. Yeah.
There's really no comparison today, and I'm not equating them at all, but all I could think about out there are the steps that the U.S. is going in that direction now.
Part of the ritual.
I have to ask Jan.
I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago where she came here for a Kristallnacht commemoration, and her telling that story in her own words, with her accent and the cadence of, her speech, was startling, and it just stuck in my head like a moment frozen in time that I will never forget. So even as Rabbi was telling the story, and even as I read the story as it was sent through an email or something like that, I still hear her telling it, and it's just the most amazing story. And it's amazing that we get to hear it. There are people that don't share their story. And thank God that she has shared this story with us, and bless her.
This is just kind of a very concrete thing, but I really like my house. And so just the idea, like I tend to get to a place and stay, and we've been in our house almost 33 years now, and we finally got it fixed up the way we want and stuff. So just that idea of leaving our house, not of our own choice, would be really wrenching.
I think we got a taste, and to sit with it. I think with a ritual, it hits everyone differently, and I just really wanted to honor Ruth in this way. She really, Diane told me that she wasn't able to come today because of everything going on. She's probably watching at least, but we're really grateful for her, and it's impossible to recreate the experience. But it's amazing how it echoes so much to Jacob's experience too, that this is such a familiar experience. We'll just take one moment to just sit in it, and feel free afterwards. You can, at a more informal time, it might be easier to discuss it with your cohort here. Maybe, is it okay to do Eli one more time?
Sure.
I think that would be nice. This time, we've been standing for a while. Maybe we'll do it sitting this one.
It's on page 653. So let's just go right to the English so everybody can sing with me. Oh God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart. Eli,
We rise for the Aleinu, page 586.
Alleluia לשבח לדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהן, וגם אבינו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים לפני מלך
page 591. You may be seated, and we turn to the mourner's Kaddish. I just want to mention, as I'm going to call our list of names here, and I'm appreciative, this sacred space is the host of both happy occasions and sad ones. It's so important. We're very honored always to really be that meaningful spot for families who are mourning, whether it's something that just happened or from years ago. And so for those of you who came to honor someone, it does mean a lot, and I'm grateful for this space that we can hold that for you, and that we can continue to light our lights in honor of the people that we love. I also just want to mention, when we think about this Veterans Day and Kristallnacht aligning, what an incredible, because the veterans, a lot of the Jewish war veterans, went and helped save the people in the Holocaust. So it's quite amazing. It's really, they're not disconnected at all. We are thinking this week, we had a number of losses. Some of you might have seen earlier in the week, Dorothy Shackman passed. She was a longtime member of Congregation Shir Shalom. And I had got a chance to meet her son, Peter, who is a rabbi somewhere near Syracuse area. And we send lots of regards to him. She was 100 years old. We also lost a survivor, Stephen Louis, this week. He was really also, like Ruth, one of the people that shared his story. He was still acting as a witness. We lost Annabelle Weiss, who was the sister-in-law of Shirley Raccoon. And Shelley Maliankowski, we just said goodbye to her today. She was, I think, a 66-year-old teacher. Unfortunately, in this family, I also helped to bury her parents, so it's particularly sad for me for the daughter died. It was a long battle, and we had a beautiful memorial for her today, so we think about her family. On our Shloshim list, we're remembering Virginia Bergman. These are people that died in the last 30 days. Gloria Berzone, Michael Berwick, Gary Sloan, William Truhaft, and Eric Weiner. We send our prayers out to the whole extended families. May their memories be for a blessing. And on our yard site list, and I do know we have a number of anniversaries in the room here, we are remembering Joseph Abelson, Louis Alderman, Harry Bernhardt, William Brogadier, Louis M. Bunis, Joseph Bushberg, Lawrence Capone, Keith Crandall, Isidore Feldman, Lucille Friedman, Ann Gellin, Lillian Giller, Irving Haber, Emma Harrison, George Iggers, Rebecca Jacobs, Edmund Karnofsky, Morris Kirshner, Harry Lane, David Majewski, Sarah Martin, Robin Lee Metz, Gertrude Middleman, Sura Genya Modic, Susan Rafferty, Dr. Alexander Richman, Rose Rosengarten, Henrietta Cohen Schechter, Deborah Schmeidler, David Schulafan, Harold Siegel, Milton Slutsky, Leonard Snyder, Frank Stern, Ethel Tansky, Murray Wolf, and Stephen Zappia. So we collect all of those names and invite, if there's other names as well, feel free to just raise your hand and I'll call on you. If there's ever a time that you want a name, just call Nancy in the office. And if there's ever a mistake, also just let us know as well. I invite those whose custom it is to rise. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. Bialma divra chirite v'yamlik malkutei. V'chayachon v'yamachon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kariv v'yamru amen. V'agala v'zman yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam almei almayah. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. Yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'rechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'yimur amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimur amen. Hoseh shalom b'imramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimur amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all the world, and we say amen. You may be seated. Zikronam livracha. May their memories always be for a blessing. And now I'd like to invite up Bruce Chorus, and I do believe we have announcements and maybe something else special along the way as well.
Yes, you'll never know when he's going to bring up, what was that? Shivering
Shabbat. I'll give it a rest.
Shabbat.
I'll give it a rest until January. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We would, of course, like to wish a very special happy birthday to Ruth Lansing. I know you're probably watching tonight, and Tom, you are as well. She will be 103 tomorrow. She is our oldest member. There was a Zoom gathering today to wish her a happy birthday as well, and she looks great. Special thank you to Rabbi Alex, Cantor Frank, and Paul Staley for tonight's service. I was thinking about a word to describe tonight's service, and there are nights that I say we have a very warm service in honor of Shabbat. Sometimes they're joyful. Sometimes they're deeply spiritual. Tonight's word, profound. We had a very profound service tonight. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes a service like tonight just makes you think. And I think tonight's was very effective at that. We want to thank our ushers tonight, Andy Abramowitz and Mark Nightinger, for helping out. As I said earlier on, we have a lot coming up. Busy weekend, busy couple weeks ahead. We are going to be having one of our more important events of the year beginning this week. That is our Thanksgiving Basket Drive. We do this every year with North Presbyterian Church. We've been doing it now for, 35 years, something like that. Temple Beth Zion has joined in also in the last couple of years to help as well. And this is where people donate food for Thanksgiving baskets. And every year we supply approximately 500 complete Thanksgiving dinners to those in the community that need it. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So if you would like to donate non-perishables, the things that you would use for a Thanksgiving dinner, canned vegetables, sweet potatoes, potato mixes, cranberry sauce, gravy, brownie mix, cake mix, things like that. We will be taking the donations here at the temple basically all week. There are some bins outside the front door. You can drop stuff off there. Obviously a frozen turkey and a monetary donation as well. I mean, these things cost money and it's a big deal. If you'd like to know how to help out, those of you that are in the room, talk to Chris Cohan right after the service. And those of you watching on the stream, Chris's contact information is in the email that went out. Or if you have any questions, just call Joanne in the office. Then we need volunteers as well, because the weekend before Thanksgiving, Saturday morning, we gather at North Presbyterian, we pack everything up, and then on Sunday morning, we hand it out. There's organizations, it's not handed out one at a time. An organization will come in a van or a big or a truck and pick up their 40, 50, 75, 100 meals. It's amazing, and have been out there a lot, and it's really wonderful to take part in. So that's coming up. And speaking of North Presbyterian, our good friend Reverend Bill Hennessy will be here next Friday night, because the weekend before Thanksgiving, which is the weekend when we always pack up everything and hand out the meals, is our pulpit exchange with North Presbyterian. Reverend Hennessy will be here Friday night. Rabbi Alex will be at the church Sunday morning, November 21st at 10:15. So it's a great thing. I'm looking forward to that. This weekend, back to this weekend, Sunday, the women of Shir Shalom are having their paid up luncheon at noon in the social hall. That's why the tables are set up that way. Reservations required. It is a vaccination-only event. Julia is here if you have any questions, if you're here in the room. Shavetas will be back on Tuesday from 4 to 7 or until sold out. Walter, Paul, you guys all set? Obviously, you can go to the website in advance and make your pay for your meal and save $1 and be sure you get it. The Buffalo Corner reading series is going to return Thursday evening at 7 o'clock via Zoom. Rabbi Alex will be sharing some of his poetry along with other poets from the area. We want to thank Ganilla Kester for leading this wonderful thing. Speaking of the Women of Shir Shalom, thank you to everyone who ordered from their Becker Farms fundraiser. Pickup will be a week from Sunday. That's Sunday, November 21st from 2 to 4, and Tuesday, November 23rd from 4 to 6. We want to thank Marcia Bougie and Donna Horwitz for helping with our Chai Club mailing. You should be receiving it any day now. That's our weekly drawing where you can win lots of money. Even if Joanne doesn't put your name in the basket like she never does with me, you can win. A gift shop is going to be open prior to Erev Shabbat services every Friday from 6:30 to 7. Thank you to Sue Frank for being there to help you with your Hanukkah items or anything else you need. After Thanksgiving, the Friday, not the day after Thanksgiving, the following Friday, Friday, December 3rd, is our Buffalo Bilica Hanukkah. That's 7 o'clock p.m., Erev Shabbat service. Wear your favorite Bills clothing or colors. Share in the communal menorah lighting. You can enter a Buffalo Bills menorah contest. You can RSVP for a latke box to go. Make sure you talk to Joanne about that. I can assure you that we will do better than they did in Jacksonville. Guarantee. Anyway, so show your holiday and team spirit. Celebrate Hanukkah with the Shir Shalom family. We're also going to have, as we've done in the past, Hanukkah candle lighting every night, 6:45 on Zoom, except for the Friday night when we are in person here in the sanctuary. The same Zoom link will be used each night. Thank you to everyone who RSVP'd tonight. It is so important that we get an accurate head count for a lot of reasons. As we move forward through this ongoing Megillah of a pandemic, we will continue to evaluate everything and make changes as necessary, always thinking of your safety. So I began tonight with a birthday wish. Now, you guys are always used to that one in the corner there, Joanne, coming up to give me a strawberry shortcake for my birthday. She likes chocolate, and her birthday is this Sunday. Come on. Come on up, Rabbi. We've had that stashed up there all night. I know.
It's been there 3 weeks.
Yeah, really. So you get your cake tonight. Chocolate, of course. You're welcome. Now, on Sunday, Joanne shares her birthday with someone a few years older than her. That would be my mom. So, Cantor, can we do a happy birthday for Joanne, Mom, and Ruth, who's probably watching on the stream?
Everyone.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rella, Joanne, and Ruth.
Joanne and Rella, back and forth. You're both so important. Happy birthday to you.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
I didn't tell everyone how my daughter and my wife conspired to surprise me at the conference for my birthday this week. Yeah, my daughter has a best friend from another rabbi that's in Chicago, and she said, "You got to bring a gift over," and she brought like 2 heavy bags. I said, "This poor rabbi is going back on a plane. She's not going to carry." But she said, "Just put it in the car." So I go to the car, and my friend Rachel Weiss, who's in Chicago, she said, "Can you give that to me right before lunch?" I thought, okay, I could go back to it. So I gave it to her. It was a surprise. They conspired. I can't believe it. I fell for that. All right, we have our final hymn in honor of our veterans. Herm is one of. Is there any other veterans here? Yeah, we got Ed over there, and Robert, and Mark. So maybe we'll have, if you want to come forward so we can, it's socially distanced, but if you want to come forward to the front just so we can officially recognize you, and Herm as well. Oh, and Walter, of course. Yeah. Oh, we have quite a lot of veterans here.
So exciting.
Thank you. And we're going to invite everyone to rise. We have God Bless America on page 680.
God bless America. La, 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 la. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans, why we're from. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Walter, before you go back, can you just lift up our challah there? We're gonna, and any of the veterans, it's yours. We give away the challah every week to whoever would like it. And why don't you say the Hamotzi together? Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. As you came in peace, may you leave in peace. Shabbat shalom. Please return your prayer books minus the leaflet to the front. Thank you. Shabbat shalom.